Now, Lori, I see Manny's with us, but I don't see Linda Redmond yet.
Okay.
There she is, right there. Just entering now. It's coming in the front door. Hi, Linda. Oh, she's just joining. Can you hear us, Linda?
Pardon?
Can you hear us okay?
I can hear ya. It's all good.
I'm just handing over to Lori.
Great. Good. Well, according to my computer, it is 4, so I'd like to start this meeting. Welcome, everyone. Just wondering, do we have any regrets? I do believe I see all committee members are here and present. So welcome, everyone, to this nice warm day that we're having today. Just a couple housekeeping items. This is being recorded. And also we have everyone on mute, and you can unmute when you're called upon to speak. And all of our hearings, we have 2 today, shall be reviewed with the provided information, and no precedent shall be set for each of these decisions that are made today. So I just ask, is there any deferrals, withdrawals, or matters before the committee?
No, there isn't.
No change of the order of the hearing?
Oh, man.
No. And I'll ask upon all members, does anyone have a declaration of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. We'll move into item number 3, the committee minutes of the previous meeting. We have the minutes in our agenda package. I may ask for a mover and a seconder. Member Stanners moved, second by Member Duff. Okay, I have before us a recommendation that the minutes of the Township of Mapleton Committee of Adjustment hearing held on July the 14th, 2021 be confirmed as circulated in the agenda package. Any errors or omissions? I'll call the question. All those in favor? And all those against? That motion is carried. This brings us to item number 4. Was there any matters arising from the minutes? Seeing none. We're on to number 5 in our agenda package is opening up into our hearings, and our first hearing this afternoon is hearing number 2021-10, Snyder and Pringle. The location of the subject property is legally described as lots 4 to 6, NES Main Street, WSS Wallace Street, lots 3 to 8, ES Water Street, part Church Street, part Street, no, that must be St. Paul Street, Survey Allen and Sutherland Peel, and its municipality known as 7835 Wellington Road 45. So the purpose and effect of this variance application is to provide relief from the maximum size of accessory structures in the natural environment zone. The owners are proposing to construct a 2,000 square foot or 185.8 square meters storage shed within the natural environment area of the property, whereas the zoning bylaw permits 500 square feet or 46.5 square meters. Other variances may be considered where deemed appropriate. So at this time, I'll ask a statement from the Secretary Treasurer regarding notifications, comments received to date. Mr. Wheeler?
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Staff can confirm the following. Property owners and agencies were provided with notice on July 28th. Postings were also completed on July 28th. Comments were received from Fire Chief Rick Richardson and CBO Patty Wright, and they're included in the agenda package. Wellington Source Water Protection comments indicate that the subject property is not located in a vulnerable area. Comments, as you know, were received late from the GRCA with no objection. Comments were received late from the county with no concerns, and there were no ratepayer comments received.
Thank you. So this brings us to our agenda number 5.14, and we'll ask our township planner, Linda Redmond, to give her comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this property is approximately 4.37 acres in size. It's zoned R1A. It's located in Glen Allen. It's the hamlet of Glen Allen. And it also has a natural environment zoning on the site that is falls within the GRCA regulated area. That's why the natural environment designation is there. It's basically to ensure that it's hazard lands. So they want to ensure the safety from the hazard lands. The zoning of the natural environment does permit a 500 square foot accessory structure for residential use on natural environmentally zoned lands, but that's it. So the reason they need an exemption here is that they want to exceed that 500 square foot allowance because the building itself is located in the natural environment zoned area. If the building was located in the R1A area, they would be permitted a larger structure than the 500 square feet. But obviously this is a location that works for their property and this is where they want to put it. So that's why they need the variance at this location. The GRCA has commented and they have no concerns with it. They're prepared to issue a permit. So generally speaking, usually that's when it comes to these hazard lands, that's who we use as our guide in terms of whether we think the use is appropriate. And if they've given their approval, then usually we're okay with it as well. So we see no issues with this request.
Thank you. So at this time, I'm not sure if the owners, Paul and Kathy Snyder, or Robert and Amanda Pringle, or the applicant, Fred or Paul Snyder, is present and would like to comment. If you do, you'll just, there you go.
There you go. Yeah, so I'm new to this, so my first name is Paul, but I go by Fred. That's why I kind of mix up names there.
Okay.
Yeah, when we moved out here, we're from Kitchener, so I'm not used to all this stuff, obviously, right? And we thought when we first moved out here, we put a shop here because I have a boat and we got a small tractor for doing the snow removal and blowing and that, and we want a workshop, just not work as in make employment, just to fit around with some things down the road. It won't be a few more years, so I'll retire and maybe want to fiddle around with some woodwork and stuff. Anyways, it was just for that reason. It's the only good location for it. That's why we put it. It's basically part of a big section of lawn that's there now. It's close to the bush that we have, but we're not touching that. We want to keep everything as natural as possible. That was the reason I moved out here. Anyway, so that's where we're at, and then we're leaving up to you guys. There's an area near the front of the property by the road that's kind of open, but that really wouldn't work if I hear we get quite a bit of snow up there and we don't want to trudge up. It's not a big hike, but it's a little bit of a hike to get up there, and we'd rather just walk over to the shop and hop on the tractor and get rid of that snow. So it's a very long driveway, so that's where we're at.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else attending today wishing to speak to the proposal? You may do so. Please state your name and address for our recording secretary. And I do not believe we have anybody. So that moves us on to committee member questions. I'll start just in alphabetical order then and ask Member Kiyomo if you have any questions or concerns to our planner or to the applicant.
I guess my only question would be, I think it's something in the report about how the NE zoning was added kind of after the fact, after the house where it was. Can you explain anything more about how that happened?
Sure, through you, Chair. prior to 2010, when the former Mapleton zoning bylaw was in place, there was no natural environment zoning at all. So what would happen is if an application came forward for a building permit or any kind of planning application, and it was adjacent to or within a certain radius of a natural feature that would have been regulated by the Conservation Authority, then we would circulate it to the Conservation Authority. But there was nothing to flag it in the bylaw. So it was really up to whoever was reviewing the permit to ensure that you caught that. So when we did the new zoning bylaw in 2010, we worked with the GRCA to introduce this natural environment zoning, which falls in line with their regulated area. So it's clear to the public which lands are regulated by the GRCA and or have some kind of natural feature on them that should be protected, because the natural environment zoning designation also includes woodlots, other natural feature areas that aren't necessarily related to the GRCA regulated stuff. So that's why that was introduced at that time. So it went through a public process. It was separate from the zoning bylaw. It was a separate process to introduce all this through the whole township and be placed on the lands. So it wasn't there before.
Okay, but had the house been built before? Bill, I noticed that the buffer line kind of runs right across the house.
Yeah.
So kind of wondering how that might have happened, but I guess
I'm assuming it was built before 2010, but I think Patty would have to answer that.
I can't speak to that year it was built, but there's two layers to that. There's the yellow line is the buffer zone, and then the hazard is the hatched area within that. There's lots of places where they were legally established within that buffer area via a GRCA site development permit. So whether the house was before the 2010 or whether they obtained a site development permit, that would kind of be how it would come about if it was in that yellow area.
okay. But the house is there, and this is suggested to be in that same yellow area, I guess, this shop. Okay,
I think it's safe to assume that the house was constructed before 2010, because if it wasn't and they were putting it in that area that's zoned natural environment, they would have needed relief for that.
okay. All right, no, that answers my questions. It was
Yeah.
just more a curiosity as to how that might have how that might have occurred. It sounds to me as if GRCA is satisfied that it's not in an area that's that they're concerned with, and I wouldn't have any different with this construction of this shop there.
Thank you. And then I'll ask Member Duff for your comments.
I'm kind of in the same boat as Dennis. I think if the GRC is good with it, the house is already there. It makes sense.
Thank you very much. Member Sheik, any questions or concerns?
Thank you, Chair Woodham. Actually, I do have a few questions for both the applicant and possibly the building official. When I first looked at this application, I was like, oh, this doesn't really seem like a minor request, but I realized that the variance is not for an accessory shed, it's for an accessory shed in a natural environment. So that's because I just thought 1,500 square feet did not seem like a small request, but because it's in a natural environment, I've got that under my thinking with that now. I did have a question. Of course, the phone is ringing. Hold on a second. The first question I had is to the landowner. When I did a site visit, I noticed that there was a tarp storage something near the house, what looked like a sea can, and also an accessory building at the road, that upper part of the lot closer to the road. And I just wondered if these are all going to stay in place, and if so, if that needs to be included in the square footage request. That's the
Good
first question.
Good question. The tarp was left there, which we are using right now. It's ripped and falling apart, but it provides some protection for our tractor and a couple our bicycles that are under it right now. The C-can we brought in because we have a lot of stuff stored in there right now. We are gonna eventually finish the basement here. I moved in here with my daughter and her family. The reason being we both want to go to the country, made it easier on them. Now they got a nice house with my two grandsons. That C-can will be removed eventually. It's not staying there. I don't like it. It's not the nicest looking thing, but it will be removed. The front shed at the front, I have no idea why it's there. It's not in very good shape. Right now, I've kind of pushed my boat in there for now. The garage door, the door part of it doesn't even come down properly. We're thinking of eventually taking it down. Again, we got a bunch of things little things we want to do. But once we do the basement, finish the basement, that's probably, well, right now that is going to be, we're planning for my wife and I, that'll be our living quarters to have a little bit of quiet time away from my grandsons and that. So, but that's why you're seeing those things right now. The tarp thing was left there. We don't know what we're doing that right now. It's probably begun. The C-can definitely will not be staying there. And the front shed, we don't have a use for it. It's an old block type of shed, and like I said, doors don't work on it. The man door is nailed shut or something. We can't even open it. I mean, I'm sure we can get it fixed if we wanted to, but the big door that you drive something in, that doesn't even shut. But so that's why they're there. Again, where we want to put it, it's kind of misleading when it says natural environment. It's just a part of our grass area. The natural environment sounds like it's going to affect something, but I guess you guys know the reason why it's called that, because of being attached to the Grand River properties and that. So I don't know. I don't know if that helps you or not.
Okay, through you, Chair Woodham. So so you're looking to remove all of those items with the construction of the new shed? Is that what I heard you say or not?
Well, the tarp thing, we haven't decided if we're going to move it or put it somewhere or not. Okay, because the metal part's still good. We haven't decided yet. The C-can we definitely will be removing. Like I said, I don't really like it being where it is. It kind of makes it a little harder coming around our driveway to where we park, but so they'll open it up for us. But yes, the C-can will be gone. In that front shed, again, we've talked about it, but we're thinking and it's not high on our priority list. We're thinking eventually we're probably going to remove that because it's not in a good location. It's not in the best of shape. And yes, we are planning on removing it. Yes, it won't be removed when the other ones built at the same time. We got a bunch of, once we get the shed, the idea is get the shed done. So materials when we bring in for doing the basement, because we want to finish the basement, make 2 rooms down there for my wife and I and a washroom, which again, that'll be something that'll be put through to, I don't know if you use or somewhere at your township for a permit for that. And then making it livable for us and giving us more room in this house. So.
And what is the size of the structure of the shed that's near the closest to the road that is
I think it fits my boat in there. So I would say it's probably 12 feet wide. Yeah, it'd be right about 12 feet because the opening barely lets the boat in, but it's probably a foot or so wider than that. 12 feet wide, maybe by about 20 feet at the most. My boat's a 16 foot, and then the tongue and the motor hanging off it. So I'd say it must be about 20 feet. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Through you, Chair Woodham, a question then to the planner. So I know that if that accessory shed is 20 by 12 and what they're allotted for lot coverage for accessory sheds on the property, would leaving that accessory shed and building the new one as proposed be more square footage than what they're allowed for accessory square footage on a 4-acre property? Will they need minor variance for that as well, is what my question is.
So currently, through you, Chair, what would be permitted on that property for accessory structures is actually more than what I said in the report. I believe I stated they would be permitted an accessory structure maximum of 2,450 square feet. It's actually a total of 3,350 square feet. So essentially, they'd have to add up. The coverall building would be considered an accessory structure for the purposes of lot coverage. So that square footage, the square footage of the building in the front, which I think you said is 12 by 20, which is 240 square feet,
Right.
as well as the new building. So that those 3 buildings cannot exceed 3,350 square feet. If you want to exceed them, if any of those buildings exceed that, then you won't be able to get a permit for that 2,000 square foot building. So you'll have to decide, you'll have to add all them up and decide
Sure.
how you want to move forward with that. The CCAN doesn't come into play with this. The CCAN is a separate entity and it's actually not a permitted use on that property. So.
Yeah, no, it's only for storage to, like I said, till
Yeah.
we get the basement, because we have all our furniture and everything in there right now.
Yeah.
And that, the dome thing though, it's movable. It's not a structure, like as a built structure. It's like putting a teepee or a tent on your property. Would that be considered a structure then?
It's not considered a structure for the purposes of the building code, I don't believe, but for the purposes of the zoning bylaw, it's considered
Okay,
a structure for your lot coverage because
Sure,
it is a
okay.
structure on the lot. Yeah.
okay. Like I said, I'm completely new to this stuff, so that makes
Yeah.
sense then. Okay.
How big is that building, sir? Do you know?
The one we want,
The coverall.
that's probably, it's probably very similar. Like it might be similar, very similar to the one at the front. It's tractor, but there's more room, but the tractor's shorter than my boat. And it's probably maybe 20 feet long, I'm thinking. Which, yeah, it might be 10, it might be 12 feet wide too. Yeah, so it'd be very similar, yes.
So you might be fine. You might be fine because that keeps you under the 3,350. Yeah.
Sure, and I can measure them, sure. They're definitely, I'm just looking at, if I wanted 2,000, what I'm trying to get is a 2,000 square foot shed, 40 by 50. And if they're both 250, that's 500. So that's well under the 3,350. And there's no way it's gonna get up to 3,350. It's just not a chance. In fact, if it was, that dome, we would rip that down. It comes down pretty easy. Like, I mean, within 20 minutes, we could have that ripped right down to the ground. So.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. I just wanted clarification to make sure that you weren't going to be over. I didn't want it to not pass further down the road because you didn't have too much square footage. Okay, the next question I had through you, Chair Woodham, was, what was my next question? Oh, I wondered what the overall height of the building was. I didn't see anything. I just was, because I'm thinking you likely have to build it somewhat higher because of location and the drop in the land. And I just wondered I'm just thinking for height restriction for minor variance, like maybe the building inspector can speak to that. Have you seen plans or whatever?
Myself?
Oh, you're on mute, Patty.
Okay, there we are. I don't believe the plans have been submitted for anything at this time. The maximum height in the R1A zone would be 15 feet, and that would be measured halfway between soft and peak to grade. So if there's an intention to exceed that, that relief should be asked for at this time.
Okay, so that'd be, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, do you have any specifications available at this time?
Right now, we're looking at, well, we want to find out that we're thinking about having a 14-foot ceiling height. And we, like, again, we don't know the rules in that, so we're looking at 14, we like to put a 12-foot door in there, but again, that's something that if we know exactly what the rules are. You're saying it's 15 feet?
Patty, can you explain what that is from where to where, please?
Yeah, so basically height on a, just a basic like sloped roof, you take the peak, you take the soffit, you go halfway in between,
Right,
and you measure down to grade at the front face. And we usually call that what's facing the road is what's facing front. And that
Okay.
measurement is considered height. It's not to the peak.
so halfway from the ceiling to the peak. Is that what you're saying?
Basically, yeah, soffit to peak, yeah. And
Okay,
then
so,
down to grade.
okay. And I think that we should be able to do that. So that's probably gonna be 15 if, I don't know how high the peak goes from the soffits. Yeah, but 412 pitch, I don't know, that's what my son-in-law is telling me, and I'm not sure if you know what that is. I don't know what that is. But how high is that from the soffit to the?
Three and a half feet plus 14, 15, 16, 17, almost 18 feet to the mid peak of the roof. That's if we base it on a 14-foot ceiling.
Okay, that's 18 if we base on a 14-foot ceiling, so looks like we'd have to, you're telling me I'd have to lower that.
Or
Go
or
ahead.
or ask for a minor variance so that you could build it up the size that you want it based on what you're allowed and what the difference would be. It would just be amending the application to add that request to it. I
Okay,
think. I shouldn't speak, maybe the planner wants to talk to that, not the planner. Linda?
So if you are going above everything, you might want to amend your application.
okay, so how do I do that?
Well, you're not going to want the committee to make a decision today, I guess. You're going to want to defer, and then if you are going to add other elements to if you're going to ask for some more variances, then we have to recirculate your application. So it's going to delay you a bit.
Okay, I guess we need at least, well, at least 12-foot high, and then it's still gonna be over the
Yeah, so the minimum we can do on a 40-foot span is a 412.
yeah, but if we moved down from 14-foot ceiling to a 12-foot ceiling, put a 10-foot door in it, would it bring it
The
down?
maximum height of the building with the rules right now is 10'6" inside.
10'6" inside, so that means that'd be 8-foot door or something like that, so we have a roll-up door or whatever. So, okay, I guess we might have to do that.
Now,
Is this doing a whole new application then?
Well, I think you need to speak with the clerk about that. But certainly we'll have to recirculate it, because if you're adding variances to your application that weren't included in the original notice, we
Right.
have to recirculate it so that the public is aware that you're asking for other variances. I mean, the alternative is you ask for a deferral for now. And there might be a way for you to build what you want to build without exceeding the height, right? So if you haven't gone that far yet, there's ways
Yeah.
to accommodate that type of opening and meet the height.
Okay, in my request for this variance, I had stipulated that it'd be a 14-foot inside ceiling, but I guess that doesn't really help you because they wouldn't have known the pitch or anything anyways then, or how far inside. So, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's your, like, you have to tell us what you want a variance for, right? So
Yeah, I didn't think of this. I'm thinking it's all push, no vehicle, no other person can see this shop. I thought, well, like, I mean, you can't see it from the road. It's way back. There's trees around it, everything and that. So to our property where the house is located, that's a very irregular shaped property. So I thought, yeah, and talked to my neighbors, all the ones that asked me that, they've all said that should be no problem at all. Like I said, none of them can see where we're putting it, what's going up, but they know because some have come over and I talked, other ones said they'd help us put it up and everything. So I have to submit a new, just so I get this clear, a new application. Like, I'm not sure, like, that's what I'm saying. What would be involved? Because we probably do want to have it higher than what we're going to be allowed, just so we can put a proper garage door on it. Maybe not quite as high as we want now, but we still need to have it, I'd like to have a 10-foot door on it anyways, maybe not 12-foot height wise. So that's still probably going to be a little over what we're allowed. So
our next Committee of Adjustment meeting is scheduled for September 15th. Secretary Wheeler, what is your recommendations going forward?
Just sitting here listening, I would say, Fred, that you should really have a good think about what it is you want. And then once you're set on that, come on into the office and sit down with Patty on a Tuesday or Wednesday with Patty, maybe Linda and Michelle, and try to come to a solution there. And if we can't make it fit, then we will have to do another application.
Okay.
And if you do have plans that you can submit, it does help all of us as committee members also to make clear decisions.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
So what I'm hearing, sorry, Member Stanners, I haven't even asked you a question, but I think what I'm hearing is all of us members would like to defer this application. Oh, you would like to say something? Okay,
I would like to speak, yes, because a couple of things that went through this. This is not GRCA land. It's only GRCA regulated. And right where I'm sitting right now, 10 years ago, all that changed, that now our house is in GRC regulated land. Nothing moved. It's stuff that they've done to cover floods and all that. This poor owner, as I'm listening to him, and this 15-foot ceiling height, what's going through my mind right away, and this is directed to him, you're wanting like a 14-foot door on the end. What about going to a cathedral type ceiling? And that way, if you have a big camper that is you need a 14-foot door, you can most likely put it right in the center of that floor area. It's not a decision you have to make today, because it almost sounds like it's going to come back through this whole system again. But it's just a suggestion that you maybe wouldn't have to have a minor variance on the ceiling height because of changing the design of your building. But as far as it being on GRCA natural environment land, I see nothing wrong with the building being put on that area. Like, I live on the regulated land all the time, and I have no issue with it at all. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so I think at this time, I'm going to ask for a mover and a second to defer this application. Member Sheik moved, second by Member Duff. Okay, so I have a recommendation that minor variance applied for in an application 2021-10 located at 7835 Wellington Road 45, legally described as lots 4 to 6 NES Main Street and WS South Wallace Street, lots 3 to 8 ES Water Street, part Church Street, part St. Paul Street, survey Allen and Sutherland Peel to defer the proposed permitted accessory structure until further information can be gathered.
Sure.
All those in favor? All those opposed? That motion is carried. So at this time, then I would recommend you speak with your planner or who's doing your drawings type of thing, touch base with our building and our planning departments, and then we can go forward from here.
Okay,
Thank you so
Sounds
much for attending.
thank you very much.
So this hearing of minor variance A 2021-10 is now concluded. So that brings us into our meeting agenda number 5.2, hearing number 2021-1111, Coetsier, and hopefully I've said your name right. Its location of the subject property is legally described as East Part 11, Concession 3, Maryborough, is municipally known as 8299 Concession 3. The purpose and effect of the variance application is to permit an extension to a legal non-conforming barn. The applicants are proposing to construct an addition to the existing broiler barn and cannot meet the required setbacks from the natural environment zone. Other variances may be considered where deemed appropriate. At this time, I'd call upon our secretary, treasurer, regarding any notifications, comments received to date.
Hello, Madam Chairman. I just got about a few electronic devices all going off at the same time, but that's fine. Staff can confirm that property owners and agencies were provided with notice on July 28th. Postings were also completed on 28th. Comments were received from the fire chief and from CBO Patty Wright, and they are included in the agenda package. Wellington Source Water Protection comments indicate the subject property is not located in a vulnerable area. Comments were received late from the GRCA, now with no objection at this time. Comments were received late from county planning, also with no concerns, and we didn't receive ratepayer comments at all. Thank you.
Thank you. This brings us to agenda item 5.24. We'll ask our township planner for comments on this application. Linda Redmond.
Thank you, Chair. So this is kind of similar to the last one. The difference here is that it's the existing barn is already located within the natural environment zone, a portion of it. When it was constructed in 91, it was not zoned natural environment, it was agriculture. Now it is because of the introduction of the environmental mapping in 2010. And so the extension of this barn is would be considered extension to a legal non-conforming use. The barn itself is legal non-conforming because it existed prior to the zoning change. So it's legal, but non-conforming to the current zoning of the NE, the portion that's in the NE, that is. So they are applying for an extension to that legal non-conforming use by 45 feet, I believe. I guess that can be confirmed at some point, maybe by the landowner. So we have no concerns with it. Again, the GRCA is satisfied with this addition and have indicated their approval for it. So if they're good with it, we're good with it. We have no concerns.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask Michael Coetsier to introduce himself and speak to the application. If you have any comments?
No, not really. I think everything's there. GRCA seems to be happy with it. There's an application we have to, or a permit we have to apply for yet from GRCA. That permit's only good for 2 years, and right now we're just, the processing plant that we work with is delaying some things on there, and that we have to make modifications to the existing barn for as well. So until I get a proper timeline for them, I'm not really looking to make any more applications. So we're just kind of waiting to see when we actually have to go ahead with this. So, but we would like.
And at this time, is there anyone else attending the Zoom meeting that wish to speak for or against this application? Please do so now. State your name and address for our recording secretary. And hearing none, I'll go on to our committee members. This time I'll go reverse order. I'll start with member Stanners.
Okay, thank you, Chair. An hour ago, I was just giving a whole bunch of these later comments because I was thinking right away, this is in one of these natural environment areas by the Conservation Authority, and it's these new drawings that have come out, the county comments and Bernie's drawings and Tacoma Engineering. I didn't get a big look at them, but enough to know that the landowners is really trying to protect that natural environment, floodplain area, whatever you want to call it. And the GRCA comments, I understand the late comment that come in is that they're okay. So getting these comments in the past hour kind of made me scramble, but I got through it. But I personally have no problem at all with this application right now. That I can see why the owner wants to build in that direction. It's an L-shaped barn would never ever work for ventilation and all that. So personally, I have no problem at all with this application. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we'll call upon member Sheik for comments or questions.
Thank you, Chair Woodham. I did a site visit for this application as well. And yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's the only place for if you want to put a addition on a barn that it can go. I was curious though, where, I'm not sure, is broilers the same as hens? And does that mean that, I was just thinking of manure storage. I didn't see manure storage. Is that not a thing with broilers, or that's a question for the applicant? Like where's the manure storage for the barn?
So broiler manure is dry. I don't even know what the regulation is under nutrient management. But because it's dry manure, we can store it outside uncovered. And then nutrient management, we had a nutrient management plan done for this addition, and they haven't indicated that we need a manure storage. Whereas your layers and your hens and those birds, the moisture content of the manure is already quite high when it comes out of the barn, so it needs to be covered.
Okay, so there is no manure storage part of this proposed addition, is that correct? No.
Correct.
Then I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, call upon member Duff. Any questions or concerns?
No, it's pretty straightforward. It's basically his only option if he wants to add on to the barn. So, yeah.
Thank you. And member Kiyomo.
I guess I just echo the same comments as the others. It's the place to put the addition, and I don't have any questions or further comments about application.
Good. Thank you. And I echo exactly the same also. So if I'm hearing correctly, I'd like to call upon someone to move a motion for a recommendation. That's member Stanners, second by member Sheik. So I have a recommendation before me that the minor variance applied for application A2021-11, located at 8299 Concession 3, legally known as East Part Lot 11, Concession 3, Maryborough, to provide the following relief. Notwithstanding Section 6.20 and 28 of the zoning bylaw 2010-080, an enlargement addition to a legal non-conforming use in the form of a 241.5 square meter or 2,600 square foot addition to the existing broiler barn may be permitted. The following circumstances should be noted. The distance from the existing broiler barn to the ditch is approximately 93 feet. So all those in favor, or anyone else have any questions or concerns before I call the question? Oh, yes.
Just for clarification, Mike, was that 2,400 or 2,600 that the GRCA okayed?
What did I say?
You said 26.
Yep. Okay, that's what I have here.
I just want to verify that the drawings that went to the GRCA that they reviewed, was that 2,400 or 26?
was 2,400. I miswrote the dimension on the site plan that I submitted. It's supposed to be 40 by 60, not 40 by 65.
Okay, I just want it clarified so that it matches the GRCA permit when it comes to, so there's no misunderstandings. Thank
So
you.
we would like to make a friendly amendment to this. I'll read it again then. Notwithstanding section 6.20 and 28 of the zoning bylaw 2010-080, an enlargement, addition to a legal non-conforming use in the form of 2,400 square feet, addition to the existing broiler barn may be permitted. Okay, my mover and my seconder are okay with that? Yes, okay, so at this time I will call the question. All those in favor? All those against? This motion is granted. So please be known that the 4 tests the committee members have considered is the variance is minor in nature. The variance requested is desirable for the appropriate development or use of the lands, buildings, or structure. The variance maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan. The variance maintains the general purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw. So just for your information then, Mr. Coetzee, your appeal date, so you won't be able to do anything until after August the 31st. So at this time, there's a short window then that's appeal date. So, but after that, you're good to go. So that concludes our hearing for minor variance A2021-11. And thank you for attending. So this moves us on to number 6 in our agenda package, general business. Again, it's being recorded, circulation of all those in attendance. We have upcoming hearings. Our next hearing date is September the 15th. And then we have October the 13th, November the 10th, and December the 15th. So put those on our calendars. And again, I'll go through, oh, yes, member Sheik.
So can I just, through your chair, can we just ask the CBO and the planner that when they're talking with the applicant of the first application, the 2021-10, it would be really nice if we could have drawings of what he's proposing submitted with the next step, with the revised application, please.
Yes, I'll look into that. Thank you.
Okay. So at this time, then I will do the show of hands again for signing since we're still on the Zoom. So I'll be calling for 7.1 in our agenda package, and that was hearing number 2021-10 Snyder, and that all those that had requested for a deferral. Okay, so that's so recorded. And in our agenda package 7.2, it was our hearing 2021-11 Coetzee, and all those that were in favor of granting this motion, raise your hand. Again, that is so recorded. So at this time, that brings us to the end of our meeting. But before we conclude, I just wanted to ask our secretary, or I see that Manny's on the line here too. Do we know if we are continuing with Zoom, or are we still waiting until we're getting out of stage 3 of our COVID before we're going in person?
Through you, Madam Chairperson, we're really hoping to get back into the council chambers for September 15th.
Okay.
And I'm going to send an email to make sure all the members are comfortable with that.
Okay.
I'm certainly getting the impression that everybody's looking forward to it.
Okay.
Now we're hoping to have Fred back, of course, on September 15th. And I'm not sure, Michelle, do you have anything else that you're expecting to make that date on your desk yet?
Nobody else has made any applications, so the deadline has now passed. So the only one that's potentially able to come forward is Mr. Snyder, and he will have a limited amount of time to get that change in for circulation.
Yeah.
So we may not have a meeting in September.
Okay.
which is okay because it's Mapleton Market Day. Well, thank you everyone for attending. Appreciate it, and stay safe. Don't lick anything. Wash your hands and sanitize, and we'll get through this. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
See you, Lori.
There it is.
Just like a party. We're the last two.